how does it make you feel to work for a company that's about to experience its 100th year?
I feel it's a matter of immense pride, privilege, and also I feel a sense of responsibility working for an organization that stood the test of time and still retained its culture and core so well.
If you kind of unpack that at another level and you think about the question in a slightly different way, and that is, what does it mean to a company that's actually made it 100 years?
I think not. It's immensely a moment of immense pride for all of us. Not many companies see that trajectory through, and it's our story. I think it's a story of resilience and grit and values and character, and I feel very, very proud of being.
I completely agree with that, and that notion of resilience and grit and character, I would dare say that is probably the essence of any company that makes it 100 years. It's just so infrequent that companies make it more than 100 months.
Yes.
But 100 years, there's kind of intrinsic qualities that enable that to happen, which are hard sometimes to identify and articulate, but so profoundly important, not just for having existed the last 100 years, but existing the next 100 years, which is really the objective. Our job as leaders isn't to celebrate the last 100 years. Our job as leaders is to create the platform for the next 100 years.
And I think our culture has set the foundation for that. It does create an enabling context for innovation to continue building upon the next 100 years.
Yeah. And I think you said it very well and very appropriately. Setting the stage and creating the platform is necessary for the next 100 years, but it's insufficient. You actually have to go out and achieve it. So it's tremendously exhilarating. I agree with you. It's there's a special responsibility that accrue to leaders that have the privilege to lead a company that has a storied history like Pitney Bowes, in that you've got to, take very seriously the obligation of how it is that you leave this place better for the next generation and the generation after that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mark, what does it mean to you to be with Pitney Bowes as we turn 100 years?
I'd use two words. The first is privilege. It is, I have always had a passion for iconic companies with storied pasts. And to be at Pitney Bowes at this, centennial moment, and to have the opportunity to be part of the leadership team is a privilege. The second word that profoundly weighs on me is responsibility. We live in a day and age where decisions and things are measured in 90-day increments, maybe a year, maybe a couple years. We work for a company that's 100 years old, and while it probably overstates it a bit, the people that led this company before, our generation, if you will, made decisions and created the opportunities that we've inherited. And we for sure need to take advantage of those opportunities. But at the same time, I feel a real obligation, as I know the entire leadership team does, as you do, to pay it forward. And think about, metaphorically, someone sitting in these two chairs 100 years from now, and what are we doing to create the future for the next generation. And there's a certain degree of dissonance in a world of short-termism and expediency for a company that's 100 years old. And it's our job as leaders to reconcile that tension. So it is both a privilege, but it's a responsibility, and it's exhilarating.
Completely agree. Thank you, Mark.
One of the things that I heard a great leader talk about, and I've never heard Walter Wheeler or Arthur Pitney or Mr. Bowes say it, but I suspect they may have, and that is, as you contemplate the strategy for the company going forward, and there's so much emphasis on what needs to change. We've spent the last couple of days talking about all the great changes that we're contemplating. The opposite's kind of an interesting question, and that is, as you think about Pitney Bowes for the next 100 years, what is it that you hope doesn't change?
I think that's a very good question, Mark. And I believe, and I strongly believe, our core strength in Pitney Bowes is our culture. Doing the right thing, the right way, is ingrained in the fabric of Pitney Bowes. And I believe this is what is going to drive us through the second century.
It's funny, and I agree, but I'd make an important point that none of us should lose sight of is, while I do believe doing the right thing the right way is ingrained in the essence of who Pitney Bowes is, it is also true that unless that sentiment is, first of all, given voice to, but then continually reaffirmed, not just in words and voice, but in actions, you can lose it. So what I would encourage all of us is to understand our value system of doing the right thing the right way, celebrating it, but also never taking it for granted, and understanding it is a wonderful gift that we inherited. We have a responsibility to continue to nurture that and to ensure that the next generation of leaders inherited the rich value system that we did.
Cannot agree less. Thank you.